How's it going, Giants fans? My name is Alex with my co-host here, Anthony Rivardo, and today we're going to discuss the Giants and Jets combo practice, kind of what happened, some good stuff, some bad stuff, notably an injury to Azeez Ojulari that had him limping off the field with trainers at his wayside. So this is definitely not an ideal situation. Ojulari coming off that hamstring injury he suffered non-football kind of drills he was doing on his own. And then he kind of came to practice today. They were doing a lot of stuff, doing some burners at the end of practice. And then bam, the injury happens and he's helped off the field, but it doesn't seem to be anything too serious, according to a couple of reports that I've seen. So that's very good news. It didn't seem to be his hamstring that was injured, something actually lower than that, maybe his calf. Personally, I think it probably was just severe cramping, or at least that's what I'm hoping it is. It was really hot today. It's like 90 degrees in full pads and in a full practice setting like that, where they're really going at it. I have to imagine some guys were going to have some sort of cramping, and hopefully that was all it was, and he just needs the IV bag, and he's good to go in a couple of days. And that would be best case scenario. And there is a video clip I believe Dan Duggan of The Athletic took that I will throw into the video so you guys can see that right now. But Anthony, your impression of Ojulari's injury. We'll discuss Daniel Jones's progress. He looked really, really good today. David Sills had another phenomenal practice. Definitely some standout performances today against the Jets. But what is your impression on the Ojulari injury, and how you doing today, my friend?
I'm doing great. The Ojulari injury, man, I'm just hoping it's nothing serious. That's we just have to hold our breath and wait and see with Ojulari. I think that Azeez is in line for a huge season if he's healthy, but unfortunately for the majority of the summer, he has not been healthy. It's been a real struggle for him to get healthy, and then to stay healthy now has been a real struggle. So hoping that this is nothing too serious. I know it was something lower leg, like you mentioned. Hopefully it was just a bad cramp and he just gets, some IV and he's good. But considering he had that hamstring pull earlier in the summer, I am a little concerned that maybe he worked back too quickly, aggravated it, maybe pulled it even worse. I'm really hoping that's not the case. So that would be a tremendous blow to the Giants defense. With Kayvon Thibodeaux, stepping in as a rookie, he's already injured. His knee is sprained. He's not going to be playing for the rest of the summer, and hopefully he's ready for week 1, but there's a great shot that he isn't. So the Giants are already depleted in the pass rushing department because you've got a hobbled Kayvon Thibodeaux, and now you have a hobbled Azeez Ojulari. We need at least one of them to get healthy for week 1 against the Titans, man. If not, it's going to be pretty scary. But speaking on Daniel Jones, you mentioned it. I saw he went 8 for 8 on a certain team practice, and he's been lights out in the past 2 weeks. I know at the beginning of training camp, everyone was like, Tyrod Taylor needs to be the starter. Daniel Jones is terrible. This is not going to work. And everyone was like, okay, well, this is his first time playing in this offense, and it's practice, so let's give it some time. And he was going up against a 3rd and 10 scenario every single play in that practice that everyone was complaining. But now that that's kind of simmered down, he's gotten more comfortable in the offense. That's why I wanted him to play in the second week of the preseason, just for him to get that comfortability. He has it now. He looks comfortable. He looks like he's ready for the regular season. How good will he be in the regular season? Will he be lights out in the regular season? All that remains to be seen. But what we know is right now in practice and preseason, Daniel Jones is comfortable in Brian Daboll and Mike Kafka's offense. And that is exactly what we needed over the summer. The main objective of the summer for Daniel Jones, get used to the system, get comfortable in the scheme. So that way, when the regular season rolls around, you are ready to rock and roll.
Yeah, and I think Daniel Jones actually went 11 for 11 at one point. I know he had an interception to finish practice to Bryce Love from the Jets. It was I think it was a fade pass to Kenny Golladay, but otherwise he looked impeccable today. He was slinging the rock. He looks a lot more comfortable after practice. He even went out and said, it takes time to get used to an offense, and every single time the Giants have played against opposing teams in the practice or game setting, whether it's the Patriots, whether it's the Bengals or the Jets now. And now, you're actually seeing him make that progress, take that step forward. He looks comfortable in this offense. And he's really understanding it. And that's not even using some of his primary players. Kadarius Toney's been kind of humbled, hurt a little bit. And then you have Wan'Dale Robinson, who didn't play today. Darius Slayton was getting more reps. Colin Johnson hasn't been playing. So it's pretty impressive to see how they're taking steps forward and they're getting a little bit more efficient and productive every single day. And that's what we wanted to see, and for the record, I think Wink Martindale's defense and the aggressive pursuit that he puts on quarterbacks and the pressure, the diverse blitzing schemes, and it's just impossible to feel comfortable when you're facing Wink Martindale's defense. It's a great defense to play against in practice because you go against live situations, live settings against other teams, and you're like, this defense is not even close to as aggressive as Wink Martindale's. And then you're like, okay, I feel more comfortable. I feel like I have more time in the pocket. these guys are being situated and ironed out against one of the most aggressive schemes in football. And I think that ultimately is going to help Daniel Jones excel and become a better player. How important do you think that is in his growth and development this offseason, just like having a really aggressive, tough defense to face off against every week? Because Patrick Graham, was more of a bend, don't break. They gave him a lot of time. They forced him to make mistakes. But now it's like, you got to make decisions quick. They're testing your mental capabilities constantly with this type of system. So I definitely do think it has some sort of positive impact.
No, I completely agree. And this was a point that I made when the Giants hired Wink Martindale way back when. I was talking about it and saying, when Daniel Jones had his worst performance of his career, it was against the Baltimore Ravens. It was against Wink Martindale's defensive scheme. He was constantly pressured. I know we did a film breakdown on Daniel Jones's performance in that game with Chris the Entertainer the day after the game. And we took a look at it, and it was basically just us saying, wow, what a defensive scheme, what a system Wink Martindale has, and what a game plan from Wink Martindale that he put on the Giants offense and basically just shut them down completely. That was a putrid performance from the Giants offense. Granted, bad Giants offensive coaching, but really terrible game from Daniel Jones. It was that style of defense that gives him the most trouble. So now that he's going up against basically his greatest opponent is this scheme, this defensive scheme. He's going up against that every single day. So he's working on all of the things that he's not so good at every single day. All of his worst attributes are being ironed out in practice by going up against a defensive scheme that he's historically bad at playing against. And this is only practice. So he's getting better at playing against this. So now when he enters the regular season, he's not going to face Wink Martindale, obviously, during the regular season, but he's going to face teams that are blitz heavy, man heavy, aggressive, play a similar scheme to the one that Wink Martindale implements, and he's going to be ready to go. He's going to have basically the experience needed to play against a defense like that. He had the experience playing against a bend, don't break defense. That's why the Giants kept getting down inside the 5-yard line and then plunging in for Wayne Gallman touchdowns. That's where most of the production came for Daniel Jones in the offense when they had success. But now going up against an aggressive defense, you don't do that. You don't bend. You don't play against a bend, don't break, right? Make it into the 5-yard line and then run it in for a touchdown. No, you have to counteract aggressive defense with aggressive offense, right? Daniel Jones is going to have to make plays. He's going to have to take shots downfield. He's going to have to get out of the pocket. He's going to have to make a lot of pre-snap reads and adjustments. And I think all of that is stuff that he's working on in practice against the super aggressive defensive scheme, and it's only going to benefit him in the regular season. So I do think it's a major benefit to Daniel Jones to be going up against this really aggressive defense every day in practice. And I think that entering the regular season, you're going to see a lot of those things playing under pressure, playing against the blitz, calling plays at the line of scrimmage. All of that should be implemented in the regular season because he's been forced to do all those things in practice against Wink Martindale all summer long.
Yeah, and Daniel Jones has shown a lot of good chemistry building with some of these playmakers too, notably David Sills. This is a guy who he's been working diligently with all offseason, and not just this offseason, but the last 2 years. So, looking at that chemistry, you look at Colin Johnson, now with the torn Achilles, and Alex Bachman didn't practice today, I don't believe. I think he had a little bit of an injury yesterday. Wan'Dale Robinson didn't practice today. David Sills stepped up. He had a monster day again against the first team Jets defense. So I don't know what is going on here, but maybe Brian Dable's onto something. He's given some of these guys that are working their butts off a shot, and it's panning out. Like David Sills, he looked good last year. He had good practices, and Joe Judge ultimately didn't give him a roster spot. But I think he's on the fast track now to get a roster spot. And maybe, that little bit of confidence goes a long way in getting the most out of a player like that. You know what I mean? Like if we didn't put that confidence in Victor Cruz, we might have never discovered him. You know what I mean? We might have never discovered the guy. So it's like, you have to think about it in that way. Sometimes it's like giving these guys an opportunity. Sometimes they rise to the occasion, and David Sills is doing just that. What kind of role can he play? I'm not entirely sure. I'm not sure how they will get him involved. Maybe with specific situations, specific play calls. It seems like him and Jones have just unbelievable chemistry in terms of timing and everything. So it's pretty fun, but I'll tell you what, that's definitely optimistic for me. Anthony, what are your expectations for David Sills, him making the roster with Colin Johnson's injury, and that chemistry between him and Daniel Jones?
Yeah, it sounds like Colin Johnson's injury has given David Sills a major opportunity to make the roster. This is a player that I thought really didn't have a great shot of making the roster. He was awesome last summer. He didn't make the roster then. He got called up to the roster at some point due to injury, so I thought that's probably going to be David Sills' role once again this year. He'll probably be on the back burner on the practice squad, and if the Giants have some injuries at receiver, then they'll call him up. But now with the Colin Johnson injury already occurring in the preseason, you could see him just starting out the regular season on the roster rather than sitting around all regular season waiting for an injury to happen. Unfortunately, to Colin Johnson, an injury already has happened, which creates an opportunity for David Sills. And David Sills is definitely capitalizing on the opportunity. He's rising to the occasion. Honestly, David Sills is like practice MVP every week of every off season. He's just a great practice player. A lot of that probably has to do with the fact that he's with the twos and goes up against the twos on defense. So you got to keep that in mind as well. I'm not expecting David Sills to step in and just dominate in the regular season. But if they need him out there to contribute for whatever reason, I think that he could be a solid contributor. I think that he can go out there, make some solid plays. I know he has made some solid plays in the regular season before. Nothing too crazy, a catch here and there, but he has the ability to do that. And I do think he's still growing and progressing and developing as a player and only getting better right now, which is awesome. Alex Bachman, as you mentioned, a little hobbled with an injury. Hopefully he's able to get healthy. I'd like to see him make the roster, but also keep in mind Sterling Shepard's healthy again. He's coming back to the roster, which I think is a huge boost to the Giants receiving core. You got him. You've got, of course, Tony whenever he's healthy. Galladay, if he stays healthy. Slayton looks like his opportunity to make the roster might be increasing. His chances of staying with the Giants, I think they could be going up right now just due to the other injuries at the receiver position. And also keep an eye on Odell Beckham Jr. on Instagram saying that he has interest in coming back to the Giants. I'm kind of kidding there. I really don't foresee that happening, but I know it's kind of the talk of the Twitter right now is OBJ hinting that he wants to have a reunion up in New York. So keep an eye on that, but really focusing more on David Sills. I think David Sills has been super impressive all summer. I think he deserves a roster spot. I thought he deserved one last year for his work in the training camp period. And I think that, man, he's just been playing so well in all of the practices, all of the preseason games. He deserves the roster spot. I don't know what his impact really could be in the regular season, but at the very least, I already know Brian Daboll said he's not only in the mix to make the team, but in the mix to play in the regular season. So there's already a plan for David Sills, and I'm excited to watch that plan unfold.
Yeah, me too. It would be really cool to see this Sills Army thing actually come to fruition for once. Every year we get so excited and then it just deteriorates in front of our eyes out of nowhere. So hopefully he can make the roster, make an impact this upcoming season. But, today's practice went well for the Giants. The Jets had a good practice as well. No fights really, some good work in the trenches. Evan Neal definitely had his hands full with Jermaine Johnson, and Andrew Thomas had a good rep against Jermaine Johnson. Definitely a good day for these guys. I think John Franklin Myers also had a good rep against Evan Neal. Two big guys going at it. Definitely, that was probably the closest that anyone got to a fight during that practice. But at the end of the day, it all went smoothly. Brian Daboll and Robert Saleh said they want to do it again in the future, which I think is an awesome thing. It's really a great idea, in my opinion. You got to look at a different team, different faces, different qualities. The Jets are a very good young team, in my opinion. So I think this is only a beneficial thing for the Giants at the end of the day. So that definitely is exciting for me. Kadarius Toney looked really good out there. I saw a couple of clips of him. Darius Slayton had a nice one-handed juggling catch down the sideline. Saquon Barkley had a nice couple runs. This is all good stuff. We're seeing good progress. Hopefully these starters can remain healthy because, we need them to. We just bubble wrap them the rest of the way. But guys, I hope you enjoyed this episode of Fireside Giants. Take a look at the main highlights, clips, and takeaways from today's practice. If you enjoyed, make sure to like on the YouTube video. As always, subscribe, and we'll catch you guys on the next episode.